On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
Nuneaton, the jewel of the South Midlands, the town who gave us such great men as George Eliot and Larry Grayson, the throbbing heart of this teeming metropolis, the pearl of the CV13 postcode, down by the roundabout and up the one-way system, is Nuneaton Town Hall, where we can find none other than Nuneaton's Mr. Entertainment.
Hello ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, I'm Barry Tadcaster and this is my friend Ken Jevons, who is an orang pendek. Hello, my name is Ken Jevons and I am an orang pendek. Unlike the other orang pendeks, I do not come from the Indonesian island of Sumatra. I come from the London borough of Lewisham, where I am employed by Lewisham Town Council as an ombudsman. This week we're going to be featuring some postal shenanigans. Oh yes, remember Frank Buff off of Nationwide? Yes, I remember him, yes. Well, I found out his postal address and we're going to be sending him a fly-blown pig's head.
I really like the old credits.
I've just recorded all my intro and realised that I hadn't switched record, so I'm going to do it all again. What a silly boy I am. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's afternoon now when I'm recording this. Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of On the Track. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology. And every Saturday afternoon I bring you a miscellany of news and views about mystery animals around the world, and news and reports of what the Centre for Fortean Zoology has been out and about doing. And this week we've got a very, very special show for you. But first, let me vent a bit. I've had a horrible week. Everything's gone wrong. It started off on Monday when Dottie brought in a half-fledged blackbird. We did all the things that I've always done for first aid for baby birds brought in by the cat, mostly keeping it warm, quiet and dark. But sadly, as I was sure it probably would, it died in the night, even though we had got the wild bird rescue people imbued on standby to come and collect it on Tuesday morning. However, on Tuesday I was supposed to be having a meeting with a world-renowned film director who's interested in doing a project with us. And so I was looking forward to that. It was all exciting. It's actually the first time I've had somebody come to visit me here on a professional capacity since Karina died. So I was looking forward to it. But he had to cancel. He rescheduled for Thursday, and by the time it got to Thursday, he'd got some nasty bug. And knowing that I am in the, I hate to say this, at-risk group of society who is, because I'm rapidly approaching my dotage, and I am possessed of a battery of different illnesses, I shouldn't really be exposed to potential infections, so he quite wisely wanted to cancel again. So that will be rescheduled for some other time when it happens. Hopefully it will happen, so I'm looking forward to meeting him again. Then on Thursday, Carl was out. Carl's here, by the way, I forgot to tell you that. It's one of the good bits of the week. Carl was out mucking out the chickens, and he came back and said one of the chickens had a prolapse and was bleeding from her cloaca. So we separated her out, put her into the pigeon aviary for short term, even though Martha the pigeon's terrified of the chicken, but it was the only thing we could think of doing. And we took her to the vet when it was obvious it wasn't a prolapse and we had no idea what it was. If it was a prolapse, I do have a fairly good idea of what first aid to do for that. And believe it or not, according to a website I found this week, it involves using the same ointment that I occasionally use for my nether regions when I have piles, because it will shrink things, and hopefully if you put that on a hen's prolapse it will help shrink it and it will just go back in of its own accord. But it wasn't a prolapse, and Graham and Carl decided that the best thing to do was to take it to the vet. So they took it all the way down to the vet in Stratton, which is nearly an hour away, and we found out that the poor chicken had a tumour just inside her cloaca, and the tumour was septic, had become infected, and there was no way it could be treated, so I'm afraid she had to be euthanized. When they got home, Carl and Graham told me that the vet had congratulated us and told us that we'd done everything right, that the poor chicken's condition was nothing to do with us, and that it was good that we spent so much time and money on feeding them correctly, even giving them, what's it called, the thing, even giving them enrichment. Graham's built a little swing for them to play on, which they do use. I think play is probably an anthropomorphic term. Graham built a swing for them, and we feed them a wide range of food rather than just point-of-lay pullet pellets. And that when they're ill, we take them to the vet, even though it does cost a lot of money just to have the poor little chicken looked at and then euthanized. Costs over 50 quid. But that's not the point. We do what we do because it is about animal welfare. It is about trying to make these creatures' lives somewhat better, and because they're rescues from battery chicken farms, I think whatever we do, even if they only live for a few years under the open sky and being able to wander regularly around the garden so that you can eat slugs and worms and grubs, I think we're doing a good thing. But back to my terrible week. And then Friday, today, the day which I've all been waiting for the last 3 months, because I've been waiting for the plumber to come and fix my boiler. Oh yes, I have. I was so excited. Well, not really excited, because I knew I had a really early start, so I tried to get to sleep early and couldn't. I didn't get to sleep till about 5. I was still awake at 8, so I could get up so I wouldn't get in the way of the plumber when I tried to traverse the passage which leads from my bedroom to the main part of the house. And I was halfway down the stairs, having gone through my ablutions and things, only to be told by Graham that the plumber had cancelled. And that's what's happened so far this week. And thank you for letting me vent. Now let's get on with the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for once I have some good news for you. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago I had to issue a well-deserved, humble and grovelling apology to Miss Maxine, that's Maxine Pearson, to you guys, who had arranged for me to be sent a piece of footage which was taken by her daughter's next-door neighbour's security camera in one of the suburbs in the northern part of Los Angeles, and it showed a bobcat wandering around their backyard. And that's a fantastic piece of footage because bobcats, especially in the built-up areas, have become slightly more common in recent years, whereas only a few years ago the whole thing would have been completely unheard of. And I was really looking forward to showing you this, but I made a grave mistake. I'd forgotten, if I ever knew, that security camera footage has a finite lifespan. And so I left it on the Facebook Messenger chat that Maxine sent it to me on, and by the time I went to download it, it had disappeared. It had run out, and Maxine was very cross, went into a sulk and didn't talk to me for 2 days. Sorry, dear. But guess what? I had thought this was a once-in-a-lifetime piece of footage because it was such a rare occurrence. And guess what? It's back. In fact, I don't even think it's the same bobcat. Another bobcat has been filmed in their backyard. Them being Jacqueline, who's Maxine's daughter's next-door neighbours. This is all getting very, very complicated. But in their backyard there's been another visit from a bobcat, and this time I made sure that it was copied onto my iPad, onto all my computers and various other places, so I had no excuse. So check this out, and because I am by no means an expert on bobcat behaviour, I brought Carl Marshall along, our big cat expert, and got him to critique the video. Now first of all, Carl, I'm showing you the video in real time.
Okay.
You'll see it in real time here, and then I slow it down massively.
Well, that's definitely a bobcat as opposed to the other species of lynx by the shape of the back. You can see it's quite horizontal, so that's definitely a bobcat. It's marking territory there.
It's just scent marking, the same as a tomcat does, isn't it?
Yeah, it's territorial behaviour. Obviously it's skulking around this property for a reason. Maybe you could say it's creepy crawling.
I wonder, it'd be weird if you came out and sat on your porch having a cup of Folger's coffee and suddenly a bobcat walks past you, and there's something pretty far out to deal with.
Absolutely, it would bring to mind the Night of the Buck Knives, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I am a bobcat and I'm here to do the bobcat's business. As I think I've mentioned before, Carl and I are particularly interested in the natural history and other strange goings-on in the area directly to the north of Los Angeles, particularly parts that border onto the Santa Susana Hills. Listen to that. It's a noise I haven't heard for a long time. What do you think it is? It is the sound of trillions. Yes, you heard me right, trillions of little insects all chirping away in unison. Months ago, just after my lovely wife died, I told you all that I wanted to come out to Illinois this spring in order to be able to see something which I witnessed 17 years ago, the advent of the 17-year cicadas. Not all the periodical cicadas in the United States are going to be emerging this year. Indeed, far from it. There are broods of periodical cicadas who are scheduled to come up at all sorts of times and dates in the future, as you can see from this map which we use under fair use. We took it, by the way, from those jolly nice people at Encyclopedia Britannica. These particular broods, though, the ones that come up in Illinois every 17 years, is known as Brood X, which has a pleasingly science fiction moniker about it. And as I said, I was there 17 years ago to watch them come up, and now I was hoping that I could go back, once again staying with my friend Jessica and with her daughter Kiernen, who was only a little girl when I first went out and filmed the cicadas with her, go out and show that history can repeat itself. Well, as we all know, the COVID restrictions have not been relaxed to any extent as much as we had hoped, or as many people had hoped. I gave up on the idea of me being able to go to America this spring about 6 months ago, although I do know people who still are hoping with their fingers crossed that they'll be able to. Although I have to say I think it'd be a very, very unwise idea at the moment. Particularly because I have been told that travel insurance will be incredibly expensive, if not impossible to get, which would make things a bit more touch and go, especially in a country where COVID is still fairly rampant. But I'm digressing. Kiernen, who is now not a little girl anymore, she's all grown up and a charming young lady, went out and filmed these beautiful insects for me, and I think she did a fantastic job, and I think it actually shows how quickly technology has advanced, that the film that she took on her phone now is so much better than the stuff I took on a camera which cost me 800 quid 17 years ago. Nobody knows for sure what the exact impetus is that triggers all these many millions of little insects to crawl out of the ground and up the nearest available tree or wall. But it's generally accepted that it's something to do with temperature. And indeed, some of Brood X actually surfaced 4 years early, and it could well be that as global temperatures rise, the 17-year cycle of these wonderful little insects, by the way, 17 years is the longest life cycle of an insect known, that the 17-year life cycle will actually be truncated and become considerably shorter. The little insects crawl up the nearest wall or tree, and then they just sit there exhausted, and the skin on their backs splits open, and out struggles an incredibly beautiful little adult cicada. Watching them coming out of their larval shell is incredibly moving. Well, I thought it was incredibly moving anyway, and it was an experience that I shall never forget. I still remember the first time I saw one of these gallant little insects emerging from the ground. I had no idea what it was, and it never occurred to me that it was actually a larval cicada. I had kept cicadas at various times in my life of different species, but never had any experience of the periodical cicada species. Interestingly, Brood X does not contain just animals from one species. There are several different species of periodic cicada here which do, for some reason, respond to the same trigger mechanism. I want to say an immensely heartfelt thank you to Kiernen for doing this for me. She was such a sweet little girl, and she and I had such fun exploring the natural world around the house where her mum and she lived. And she and I looked for beetles, and we looked at the cicadas, and we even saw a skink once, and she was really excited by that. And it is so nice to know that all these years later she still has the wonder and the feeling of magic of the natural world which she had as a little girl. Please, baby, never lose that. And come and see us in England soon. I'd love to see you again.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer and I are telling you, please remember to ring that notification bell. Otherwise you won't be told when we've got another show. And that would, I feel, be an awful pity. Well, that's about it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been very much a transatlantic episode, so I want to say thank you very much indeed to Jessica and Kiernen Dardine, who darlings I love very much, and to Maxine and her family and her daughter's next door neighbours and everybody else involved who finally got me footage for Bobcat that I didn't lose. And of course I want to say a big thank you to Carl, to Louis, to Graham and to Sarah, who keep the home fires burning in front of and behind the camera, because I really wouldn't be able to do what I do without any of you. And of course there's Charlotte, who's a dear sweet girl who only the other night FaceTimed me all the way from the Channel Islands just to make sure I was doing okay without her checking up on me to make sure I didn't get into mischief. You're a darling, Charlotte. You're all darlings, and I love you all. And I'm not just saying that in a horrible American award winner's manner. So, ladies and gentlemen, all across the Atlantic, on both sides of the Atlantic, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon. Do you know why? Because next Saturday, same time, same place, it's 3 o'clock crypto time, and guess what? If you tune in, I'll be seeing you.